Without their two starting tackles, against one of the best edge rushers in the game, without their best receiving threat, the Bills went into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers in a way that they've never been beaten in that stadium before. Stevie Johnson, are the Bills back, or was that just a win against a bad team?
That was definitely a win against a bad team. The Buffalo Bills went in there and handled biz and had fun like they were supposed to. And I was on to the next time.
What it is getting that bad taste out of your mouth and getting whooped physically by Houston and taking that whooping that you took from Houston and dumping it on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
This is Broken Table. Hein, Chezzy, Stevie Johnson. Bills going to Pittsburgh, whoop them, completely just like asserted their dominance on the ground. And as I mentioned off the top, no Spencer Brown, no Deion Dawkins. So, Chezzy, I'll start with you. How hard is it to go in on the road and win without arguably two of the best tackles in the game?
Extremely difficult. I didn't know how Joe Brady was going to attack this. That was the big question for me entering the game was, how was Joe Brady, what's the game plan going to be, and how is Joe Brady going to navigate this? Was he going to put it all in the hands of Josh? That was the two things for me, scenarios, was when you put the ball in Josh's hands a ton and ask him to, without a bunch of playmakers, to make plays with his legs, to extend plays, play what I call above the call with the ball in his hands, or was he going to hand the ball off 45 times to James Cook and say, let's pound it and try to squeak out a win? It was obviously option B, but it was cool to see that you can find ways, and that's important, find ways to get it done when you're really bare bones on your roster.
Absolutely. I'm on that part. You know, I feel like this is the type of team that the Buffalo Bills are. You know, hand the ball off and running through the running game. Run your offense through the running game and through Josh's legs. You give him those options to read the field, but I would say only give him 1 to 2 options. And then after that, if he don't like it, take off and use your legs and then be creative. That doesn't mean just take off and run, because we've seen Josh Allen be able to create time and then get the ball downfield. So that's what I mean by keeping it simple and just backing the run game for this offense.
Well, and you both touched on it. It was the return of the designed run for Josh Allen. And I understand the team wanted to get away from that before because you want to keep him fresh. But you're running out of time and you need wins, and the playoffs were kind of in jeopardy if you lose that game. So seeing the return of the design run, I think, is an element that this offense really needed.
Yeah. I would say, you know, we wanted to not see as many design runs because we assumed that, you know, the playmakers around him can carry the weight while we rest Josh. But it looked like the progression wasn't happening as fast as we wanted to. So we kind of had to revert back to, okay, we either got to use your legs or just hand the ball off to James Cook. And we see them, incorporate that a whole lot more with James Cook getting 32 carries. And then not only that, but utilize Tomlin Johnson and Ray Davis a lot more. So it kind of gives me that thought that this team has absorbed that mindset of being a running offense. So, you know, got to dive all in on it. And they have the receivers to do it, as far as Tyrell Shavers making big blocks, Khalil Shakir being the ultimate team player, and Keon Coleman having a big body and being a wild card who can potentially evolve into a dominant receiver. But, you know, we don't need that right now, and it's working for him, we saw.
Well, and let's give Joe Brady a little bit of credit, because that's been one guy who the fan base has sort of been all over. And it's funny, when Palmer was announced out and Kincaid was announced out, I went to FanDuel, and I'm seeing 11.5 receiving yards for Ty Johnson. I'm seeing 13.5 receiving yard lines for James Cook. Yeah. Those are auto bets now. And I think as long as
don't tell FanDuel we're gonna crack their ass.
But like, as long as those guys are out and the Bills are gonna utilize those backs more, those are sort of must bets. But one note, you guys both talked about the running. The Bills called a run on 63.5% of their plays, the 4th highest rate in the game since drafting Josh Allen in 2018. James Cook, 130 yards on under center runs, the 6th most of any player in a game this season. Wow. And we are just going to beat you up. We are going to road grade you, and credit to the Bills offensive line for doing that without those 2 tackles.
I look at absolutely. And I look at and there's a question, I guess, and here's what I walked away with. You take the positivity of the dominance of the run game and you say, okay, and Stevie just said it. That's who the Bills are.
That's their identity now.
That's their identity now. Can you, in playoff football, if you look at the landscape, and I won't go to the NFC, let's just look at the landscape of the AFC and the teams that are probably in your way. Can you win without a ton of explosives and just by dominating the ball in the line of scrimmage and controlling the clock? Can you win that way? And I don't have an answer to the question. It's an honest question.
So we're going to go through the AFC later in the show and really go team by team. And I think you can get the big performance out of Josh, especially if you assume Kincaid is healthy.
Yep.
So you can go in with this new identity, and I think you can squeak by. If you're playing at Denver, you can win a slugfest against Denver with how well the Bills defense is playing. You can, Indy, now, do you fear Indy? Indy kind of looks like fool's gold now. New England, we'll see, a lot will determine on what we see in that next game, but looking at the landscape of the AFC, a conference now where the Chiefs are now favored to miss the playoffs, I'm not as concerned as I was earlier in the year. I think you can win with this identity in the playoffs. Stevie, what do you think?
Yeah, they definitely can, and it's their identity. So when I look back at the numbers against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the time of possession was 41 minutes on the Buffalo Bills side,
not including that. That's no overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, no overtime. So that's the domination on the run game. And when you look at the first downs, 26 first downs for the Bills, only 10 for the Steelers. The Steelers was heavy pass, spread it out and try to pass the ball. When that don't work, this is what happens. And when you have a team that can run the ball, like the Buffalo Bills, having a running quarterback who just broke the record for rushing touchdowns, I mean, the writing's on the wall. So I think this definitely is the style of football that the Bills need to go to going into the future, because we've tried everything else, and hats off to the management for trying it. But yeah, it's time to just lock in on this run game.
Now, I got a question for you, Chezzy. We saw this in the Carolina game. When Joe Brady likes to play, he's going to run that play over and over and over and over again. So here's a TJ Watt quote from yesterday. I've never seen a team run the same play that much and have that kind of success. As a defender, how demoralizing is that?
Yes.
That they're just running it and you can't stop it.
That's exactly what it is. Demoralizing. It really is. And all they did, if you watch it again and you said it, they ran the same play, just flip sides. They would run it to the tight end side, they would flip it and run away from the tight end. That's the only difference, back and forth, back and forth. And at some point, there's, Terrell Austin, the DC for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to do something different. Mm-hmm. And then this to me, all the conversation, we'll probably chat about that, but the Mike Tomlin, fire Mike T, the comments after the game, all this stuff, that goes on the DC. Somebody has got to shoot a gap, change a call, do something. But that's the definition of domination. When you just keep doing the same thing over and over, we know you're going to do it, we still can't stop it.
Yeah, hey, look, I correlate that to my gamer side. When I'm on Madden, hit me up, Stevie Bentrill. I run the same play over and over. If you can't stop it, it's a wrap for you. They usually quit before halftime because I do variations of the same play. I'll flip it or I'll have somebody doing something else, but it's the same play over and over. And that's exactly what I saw from the Bills. And Joe Brady,
I want to know what the play is, Stevie. I'm sorry. I want to know what the play is. What is it? We got? Is it a pass? Is it a shotgun? What is it? What we got? Give me a little taste of it. Little taste.
I got Reggie Gilliam in at the fullback. I got Cook in the backfield. I got Josh at the mid shotgun. And then I got Dalton Kincaid coming on the under. I got Khalil Shakir on the left side doing a 10-yard end. I got Keon doing the post, and then I have on the right side I got a end breaking route, and I usually edit off of that. And I got every option. Cook is doing the swing. I can do a play action to Gilliam. I really dissect that thing. So that's for another time.
Do we have future offensive coordinator in Stevie Johnson right here or what?
That's legit.
Hey, you got to just let it play out. And the Buffalo Bills, they're definitely, they let things play out. They tried to be that spread it and let's get our playmakers involved. But it's not working. It was a hassle. It was a struggle. And this was more smooth and more efficient. So I think the community would just get on the back of this. And when I meant like the running game, even getting Cook involved in the passing game, he's a running back, but in the passing game, just get it to him. And that'll still open up things because, Khalil, they caught on to Khalil basically. Mm-hmm. Now let's revert attention back to the running game and the running backs, Ty Johnson also out the backfield. And then when they convert to that, then go back to Khalil and open things up.
Quick thing for the receivers for you guys. Snaps. Who do you think led in snaps?
Was it Shavers?
Yes.
And he laid a couple guys out with huge blocks that sprung Cook.
Yeah. So Shavers led them in receiver snaps. You know who was second? Gabe Davis was
another
second.
great run blocking
Yes,
receiver.
then that's what it is. And fourth, Shakir was tied with Coleman, or just had a couple more than Coleman. So Shakir and Coleman had the third. But you're right, he's still the number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But just in that game, to your point, Shavers and Big Gabe in the run game, they motioned him down tighter to bring those DBs. And the reason you're doing that, for those who don't know, you bring those bigger receivers or more the physical receivers, you motion them down closer to the box. And with that, when you do that, now you're bringing the DB down into the box. So now that DB, it's probably a cornerback, is going to be responsible for one of those gaps. And then those big guys just get him up out of there. And now you've got rid of that gap by bringing the corner in there and then out physical him and get him out of there. So that's good game plan and using the KYP. Know your personnel. The Bills know their big receivers or tough receivers can usually root out smaller defensive backs. That was fun to see.
One other note on that, and last year the Bills, I remember you flagged this last year, the Bills led the league in bringing in that 6 lineman. They don't need to do that anymore because of Jackson Haas. Mm-hmm. That is a great draft pick, and I feel like, one, he's opening up a ton of holes for Cook. They haven't really utilized him too much in the passing game. I feel like that's something that they can save for the playoffs because it's almost like you're bringing in an extra lineman with how good of a blocker he is, but he's shown he has hands and he can make some nice catches. Absolutely. So, and one other note just to Brady, they were getting the ball out quickly. Stevie, you've been asking for that for weeks. Get the ball out quick. I think it took the injury to those 2 tackles to think, yes, we need to get the ball out quicker, and yes, let's get our running backs involved in the passing game because our guys on the outside aren't getting it done.
Yeah, it was good momentum. It was momentum for the offense to utilize that somewhat of a Russian hurry attack type thing. You know, it helps with the rushing game because now you got guys on defense more alert to what's going on the outside of me. And then next thing you know, boom, there's a handoff up the middle. And when you got a back like James Cook who can maneuver through those blocks, I mean, it's special. So you got to utilize that. And then along with Ray Davis, I got to give him a shout out because, I mean, the momentum that he brought and the spark that he brought was big. First carry, dang near 13 yards, 15 yards on the next one. Yeah, it was dominance. And hats off to Ryan Vandermark and Alec Anderson playing those tackle positions. You don't ever expect Spencer Brown and the man of the year, Deion Dawkins, to be out. And now you're holding down the outside, you know, against a TJ Watt. Yeah, I mean, you go get a few offsides trying to be overly prepared, and that's what we saw. But they settled in and they showed dominance.
One cool moment, too, this came from your guy, Sal Capaccio. James Cook said he woke up this morning, texted Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandermark, and told them he trusted and believed in them, and let's go get a win. They texted back, I love you, brother, let's go. I love seeing that from Cook being like, you know what, this is a lot of pressure. 2 tackles on the road like that, and Cook sort of building up that confidence. I love that type of stuff, that leadership stuff from James Cook.
Yeah, for sure, and especially going up against a team with attitude like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, I felt like that would have been a momentum changer for this game if they were to use the art of war, but it worked to their favor. But this time, it's like they shot themselves in the foot trying to get underneath the Bills' skin. But I mean, it looked like they took it too personal with the D linemen and you know, DK Metcalf getting kicked out. You know, there's a way that you play the art of war, and they didn't play it right, and it hurt them.
Well, there's a couple things from that. There was the late hit on Josh that wasn't called, and then there was the Cam Hayward stuff, and we heard the Cam Hayward sound.
That stuff was strange. Yeah.
And Hayward said, like, we'll play the sound right now.
You and Josh Allen, it seemed a little bit of frustration early on. Can you talk about it or?
Being kneed in my stomach, and then just jawing back and forth, and then ticked off the entire game because as a quarterback they're protected, but I'm not. It just pisses me off.
You're saying he kneed you or someone else?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Did you cross the line throughout the game, or was it that one incident?
That was that one incident.
Was that on purpose by him?
Yes. He even said after, I had to do something to get you off of me.
And you and Cam seem to be having a lot of exchanges. Did that get you going at all in the second half?
Maybe a little bit. We love the competitiveness out of this game. He's such a great player. Sometimes you need fire like that to get you going.
So Hayward said that Josh Allen kind of need him. We couldn't really see that. I know if you're a lip reader, Cam Hayward was saying some not safe for FanDuel, TSN, YouTube content to Josh Allen. like it's weird to be talking that kind of smack when you're getting beat so badly.
You know why Cam Hayward's? You can see the frustration in Cam Hayward.
Yeah.
So he's having a down year.
When he wanted out, apparently, right? He wanted money.
Contract extension. He did not get it.
Yep.
And now he's having a down year. So you can understand why he's frustrated. It's not about Josh. And Josh is not going to pick fights with a 330-pound defensive tackle. That does nothing for Josh except for put him in the bullseye of getting body weight on or cheap shotted or something else. So Josh is not stupid. So I'm certain that whatever Josh did, I haven't seen the knee, but it's probably just Josh trying to get off the pile.
It didn't look that bad at all. Yeah.
And I think Cam Hayward is just frustrated with everything going on with him. And like the rest of Pittsburgh, which I don't know if we're going to talk about that at any point in time, but there's some interesting quotes from Mike T, what he said, and what Aaron Rodgers said, I think is really interesting. I don't know where you want to go.
No, go for it. Like, I like Rodgers got Tomlin's back, and Rodgers basically said it's on us as the players.
See, so I'm on a total different side.
Okay, let's hear.
I think that what Aaron Rodgers did was in his comments. So when you're talking about, maybe roll the clip of what he said about what Aaron said about the question towards Mike Tomlin.
The flatness within the game and in practice is something that's not being done right from a coaching aspect or a preparation aspect that's kind of bringing you guys the wrong way.
I know what you're trying to ask. I'm not going to go down that road at all. I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in Mike Tomlin. That's why I came here. And players need to take accountability. Myself included, and I will. And I will continue to. I got to play better. But there's 11 stars on offense, 11 on defense, plus with the personnel groupings that we run. We're going to have a Monday to Saturday that we can be really proud of. Our best Monday to Saturday. And go out and play our best game and take control of the division.
Aaron there with that big pause, he said, I know what you're trying to do to the reporter, and I'm not going to go there. Aaron Rodgers at that point is actually bringing
interjecting.
Light. He's bringing light to the fact that the reporter is talking about Mike Tomlin and his job or his effectiveness at doing his job. And the reason why Aaron Rodgers is doing that, he's pretending like he's trying to stand up and take
he's
it
protecting him,
protecting Mike Tomlin. He's not. Aaron Rodgers is actually trying to shed light to the fact that there's some issues with Mike Tomlin's coaching, but I'm going to stand up and take it from Mike. To me, that's Aaron Rodgers being Aaron, calculated, know what he's doing. He's playing terrible football. It was a mistake to sign him. He looks like he's 40. He's absolutely cooked, done. And Mike Tomlin is probably feeling the same way about him, but Aaron Rodgers is going to get out in front of it and pretend that he has Mike Tomlin's back, trying to take it all the heat or some of the heat off of himself.
I love that your conspiracy brain is going here. And with Rodgers, if that doesn't surprise me.
No, but half the people listen to that quote. One more thing. Half the people, 80% of people listen to that quote are not even going to know.
Man, I was fooled.
Not even going to know what the guy was referring to, what the reporter was referring to. The only reason you know what he's referring to is because Aaron stops him, makes a big pause, and points it out.
Yeah.
And he does that. He's a smart dude. He did it on purpose.
Yeah, I'm with Tezzy on that too. He's on to something.
Yeah.
How much blame do we give to Tomlin here? Because this is now, like, they're always going to be 9-8 or 500 before when it was a 16-game season. The fans were frustrated. They're chanting, "Fire Tomlin." They played Renegade late in the fourth quarter. The fans booed Renegade. Poor Dennis Barham. I don't know what he's going through. I haven't shot him an email.
I watched the game with him. It's tough. It's been a tough weekend for Michigan. Pittsburgh is tough for Big 3D. Yeah.
So, if you're Pittsburgh, like, what do you do with Tomlin?
No, I definitely wouldn't fire Tomlin. You know, he didn't gave them 19, 20 years of winning seasons. Yeah, like a Super Bowl championship. He's got one down year because they don't have the playmakers. I mean, you relying on guys that's robots to be their game changers in that offense.
They say that voices sometimes, like, if you're a good coach, here's a question for all of us. If you're a good coach and you think you're still up on the game, you're still doing what we think Mike Tomlin is doing, is there such a thing as your voice just gets tired and they start to, after a certain amount of time, guys just stop listening and it doesn't resonate anymore? Is that such a thing? 'Cause that's what we're hearing, but I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah, I believe it is with certain people, but that's the personnel that you got in the building. Like, you can bring in a bunch of guys that's young-minded and they like, man, I ain't trying to hear all this. So I would correlate it towards that. but the guys that know what's going on, that understand the history, they can hear that all day and understand what needs to be done. So they just need to rebuild the roster, and get more playmakers and change that culture. Like,
one thing we noticed with DK, and this is Christian Benford told Sal Capaccio after the game, he shadowed DK Metcalf the whole game, whether the Bills were in man or zone. Metcalf, 3 catches, 32 yards on 5 targets. I feel like since McDermott has sort of started calling the plays again, we've heard it's going to be back and forth between him and Babbage, but Trey White has improved significantly. Benford has improved significantly. This is now the best secondary in the NFL in terms of pass yards allowed per game. So, Chezzy, I'll start with you. Is this defense actually good, or are they have they been feasting on subpar competition?
Let's say this is not a dominant defense, okay? But that's fine. We didn't expect to be a dominant defense. What you just said about this is the best secondary they've had right now. This is the best secondary they've had collectively. You said Trey's playing better. I think Stevie agrees Trey's playing better. If Trey's playing better, you have Max is going to get better every week because he's getting more snaps and more maturity as a rookie. You have Benford, Trey, and Teron healthy. That's the best group you've had in a minute because of all the injuries. That's the best group you've had, and I would defer to Stevie who have been watching it the last week. But I would look at the health of that group and what I've seen prior with the injuries and having Ingram and everyone else out there, and this is probably the best group they've had.
Cole Bishop too. Cole Bishop's been awesome, and I think Cole Bishop and Poyer too. Poyer's getting all the safety stats now.
Yeah.
So I think that you have a safety tandem that you can count on, and that is sort of propping everything else up. But Stevie, do you think this defense is good, or are they just feasting on bad competition?
Yeah, I really think they're good because they're disciplined. That's why I say they're good. Like Chezzy was saying, they're not good because they're dominant. They're getting big hits and doing all of those entertaining things. I say they're good because even when they get ran for 200 yards on them, they get a bomb caught on them, they're good because they bounce back every time and continue to fight. You see it. You see the connection in their coach. The coach continues to try throwing different things out there against those offenses, and that keeps the guys' minds going and on to the next. When we're talking about the DB play, I don't particularly say they're getting better. I just think they're getting more comfortable in their role. Christian Benford, him being the number 1 DB on our team, he's the most athletic, I would say, to covering corners. With him only being lined up on one side of the field in the first half of the season, that wasn't effective for us. We need him to be playing against the number 1s everywhere on the field. And I think that helps a lot. With other guys like Trey White, who now doesn't have to worry about if that number 1 receiver or number 2 guy is lined up on the left side or the right side, wherever he's at. He can just line up on his matchup for that week, and you've seen them guys be more comfortable. So I just think they're and again, what Chezzy said, health is wealth. With Bishop not going in and out, being hurt, obviously Rapp is out there, but Poyer's in now, and he's playing like he's in year 10 of his career. So I just think that they're getting more comfortable in a role and they're healthy, and guys are taking ownership of their responsibilities in Christian Benford by covering their number 1 receivers.
I'll give you 3 stats about their secondary and their defensive play right now. So their defensive efficiency right now, they're 11th in NFL. So they're top 10 in all 3 of these. They're 11. Efficiency 11th. Yards per attempt in the pass, they're 8th. Opposing quarterbacks rating 7th, and pressure rate that's not good. So those 4 things right there, they're in the top 11, top 10 in the league. It's the run defense that's 30th. The pressure rate is near the bottom too. So that's where the struggles are. With the pass defense, we know if you can stop teams from getting big plays on you and play the pass and make teams have 15 play drives to beat you, then you're in good hands.
Well, and here's a note too on that run defense. Bills run defense in Terrell Bernard starts versus Shaq Thompson starts. And they split the Atlanta game here. Bernard, 267 carries, 1479 yards, 5.5 yards per attempt. The Shaq Thompson games, who's come in and has been awesome, 59 carries, 221 yards, 3.7 yards per attempt. Shaq has completely transformed this run defense, and we've seen it this is going back from halftime of the Texans game. 201 total yards allowed over those 6 quarters, 12 first downs allowed, 10 total points. So Shaq has really shored up that run defense, And if the run defense is what you say, you got your hands up, Chazzy. What?
I mean, that's against the Steelers, who are the worst run team in the offense, and the Texans can't run the ball either.
We got to think about the personnel also. In the early half of the season, they was heavily using Bernard and Milano, and then they began using Shaq and Dorian. Now they're using the linebacker by committee. That's what they need to be doing. Not relying on Milano and Bernard to be those guys every down, and keep rotating Dorian and Shaq Thompson in.
And to your point about pass rush, that game swung with the Joey Bosa sack and forced fumble. His 5th forced fumble of the year. That leads the NFL. Bosa his pass rush win rate has been really good all year, but it wasn't really translating to the sacks. Sure. Now he's starting to get home, and this is when you need him to get hot. Like I'm a believer in Bosa.
This all comes around, guys. What have we been saying for the last couple years about what the Bills need in a big game, in the biggest moment? What do we always say they need to get over the hump, to get over Kansas City, to get over the Ravens, whoever it is? What do we say they need on defense?
That pass rusher that you've said it before. You've both said it. They need their Josh Allen on defense. They need their guy who's going to win. Playmaker.
Somebody who's going to make a play, and if you got 5 strip sacks, that's a play.
Now Bosa did get hurt in that game. We still don't know the status of that. If that comes out by the time this is posted, we'll have a little fancy little graphic here giving the update. But going into that Cincy game next week, they really need Bosa, because that Cincy offense looked alive against Baltimore, and Joe Burrow's kind of had his way with the Bills since he's been in the league. So I don't know. Like that's a tough game against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's sort of playing for the playoff lives. The North is wide open. If Cincy wins this game, they're only a game out of first in the AFC North.
Yeah, boys got to just continue to run that ball and dominate them on defense. And the eye is on the defensive line again to put the pressure on Burrow, because if he's comfortable, we all know what he's going to do. He's going to try to pick apart with Jamar Chase, and which also brings my attention to Christian Benford again. After having a big day, now he's got to line up against Jamar Chase and follow this number 1 receiver. And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing as we go in against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's whip through the AFC here, because the conference right now just looks like a mess. And I'm going to go through each team, and I'm going to ask you both, who is the best team in this conference? So at the 1 seed, we have the Broncos, 10-2, survived last night, plus 450 to win the conference. Pats, 10-2, play the Giants tonight. We'll get to that later, plus 480. Jags, 8-4, smoke the Titans, plus 1260 to win the conference. Ravens are the 4 seed at 6-6. They got embarrassed by the Bengals, 7-1 to win the conference. Chargers at 8-4, both of your Chargers at 8-4. Beat the Raiders handily. Justin Herbert hurt his hand, getting surgery. Apparently he's going to be fine though. Just over 11-1. Colts 8-4, second straight loss. I think they're falling apart. Bills 8-4, plus 480 to win the conference. In the hunt, Texans minus 134 to make the playoffs. Steelers plus 245 to make the playoffs. Chiefs plus 106 to make the playoffs. Outside looking in. Who do you fear in the AFC? And Stevie, let's start with you. Who do you fear in the AFC? Who's the best team in the conference?
I would say I would fear the Houston Texans, considering what that defense does. The defense shuts down top offenses every week. I don't know how their offense is moving the ball and getting these plays and getting these points on teams, but Houston, they've shown something I can be fearful of. The Patriots sitting at 10-2, they are a dominant team, but I don't fear them going as far as skill to skill. I just fear the fact that they take advantage of momentum. Guys like Diggs, they take advantage of momentum and it carries. So those are the top 2 teams that I'm keeping my eye out on.
What about you, Chazzy? Who do you fear in the playoffs? And you got to think too, quarterback is so important come playoff time. I kind of agree with Stevie where it's like that Texans defense, if they can get any kind of improvement from CJ Stroud in that offense, they could definitely be a real threat. But if looking at these teams, looking at those odds, who do you fear in the AFC?
Well, the sports books and money also feels the same way you do about quarterbacks. It's crazy. If you look at these are the top 2 teams in the AFC, and the Bills are sitting.
So what do you value though? Do you value that quarterback play come playoffs, or
absolutely?
Yeah.
And so, but look, the teams I agree with Stevie. Houston is scary because of that front 4. They have a great secondary. They have a really good secondary. A best tandem of pass rushers, and then they have a quarterback who's a playmaking quarterback. I mean, CJ Stroud is the reason why people aren't scared of Houston, but CJ Stroud is still a playmaker.
Yep.
I mean, a couple years ago, CJ Stroud was the toast of the town. CJ Stroud is dangerous in the
with Nico Collins,
game.
One of the best receivers in football too. He has a great weapon.
If I still like the Colts, if Daniel Jones is healthy or feels better. I don't know. That doesn't look good. I got to go back and watch yesterday with his fibula. But if Daniel Jones is a healthy Daniel Jones with his ability to extend plays and make plays with his legs, and the fact they have JT running the rock and a good defense, I like Indy's chances.
Well, let's look ahead to tonight in the Patriots. Do you fear the Pats as a playoff team?
Oh yeah, for sure. Against teams that they should win, they've shown that they can win, and they've handled those games, winning off these consecutive victories. The thing about them is when Drake may get pressure put on him, through different ways, and that's through like the defensive coordinators and scheming up pressures on him. So, and then having a DB that can match energy with those receivers, like a Diggs and the energy of a Mac Hollins. I feel like the Buffalo Bills match up very good against them. The Broncos also match up well against them, but it's going to be a matter of who takes whose energy first. And we all know that the Patriots come with that energy, and the Broncos come with a tough defense. So those two are the clear favorites stat-wise. But, personnel-wise, I'm going to go with Bills being able to control the game. 41 minutes, one of the best running games in the league, one of the best running quarterbacks in the league, and a bunch of guys that can fulfill their roles as role players. I really like the Bills' chances still.
I do. The Bills would be my favorite. With the odds, the Bills would be my favorite too because of all those factors. This is not a homer play, but you look, they have arguably the best quarterback. They have a run game. They have the defense is a question, but I think the fact of is Kansas City going to get in the playoffs?
I don't think
because if Kansas City gets in, they would still be my pick.
But like what we've seen, they should have lost to Indy, and then they go and they lose to the Cowboys. I think it's done. Plus 106 to make playoffs and minus 130 to miss playoffs. So they are now the odds are shorter for them to miss playoffs. Now, here's the rest of the schedule. Sunday night, they got the Texans. That's a tough one. That's at home. Then they get the Chargers at home. Then at the Titans, that's a gimme. Versus the Broncos, at the Raiders. Of those remaining 5 games, those are 3 tough games. Texans, Chargers, Broncos are not easy, and then you got a couple layups with the Titans and the Raiders.
Yeah, and I mean that's the team to do it. Mahomes, I would say, is the guy to do it. He's been in this situation before, but then does that mean they have to rely on other teams to also lose, like the guys in Jacksonville who beat them? So it gets kind of tricky. And this game against the Houston Texans is going to be big because the Texans beat the Bills, who is above the Chiefs right now. So they got some.
How many wins do they have right now?
Chiefs are 6-6 right now.
Yeah.
The math doesn't math, man. They honestly have to go 4-1 of these last games, I think, to make the playoffs. The wild card teams right now have 8 wins. The Bills are the 7th. They have 8-4.
The Chiefs, if they can win, if the Chiefs beat Houston, this is the game. If they beat Houston, they could run the table because they have Denver at home, and honestly, the rest of the games are fairly winnable.
Chargers is winnable also at home. Denver does not impress me at all. Bo Nix does not impress me. As good as their defense was, Mariota was kind of getting what he wanted in the middle of the field last night. I don't know, man. Like this, and this is what
11-6 or 10-5 would probably get 10-5 would probably get him in. I think.
Or 10-7, you mean? 10? I don't know if 10-7 gets in.
10-7. No, it doesn't get in. Okay.
I don't think so because I think the Ravens could get in with a worse record because of winning the North. Right. But I think to get that wild card, right now in the wild card, Chargers 8-4, Colts 8-4, Bills 8-4. Are they going to have a better record than any of those 3 teams?
Yeah, you make a great point right there. When you put it like that. Let's face it, no. And maybe I want them to get in so that we can beat them. Maybe I'm still thinking about years past, but it's probably time to move on. And this might be the year for the Bills to get through without having to face a cheap team. And they can only play against teams that they've beaten. So the Bills come in with a different attitude when it's teams like that.
Well, we got one more game tonight. Are you giving the Giants any kind of shot?
No, I'm gonna go with the Patriots still, but I am gonna take the over on this game because I feel like Jackson Dart does bring that spark to give them at least 16, 17 points, maybe another field goal. But the Patriots will do what they need to show that who they are.
So if we're gonna we can adjust that under down or over down if we want to do a little your way. What do you think?
You could do a little your way with the Patriots and the over, bring the over down and Patriots money
line.
Yeah, I like that. I like that play. The Patriots are going to get it. They're going to get it done tonight. There's some sense of disrespect. There were some comments too about how Drake made plays.
Yeah.
What did he say? He's too poised. I mean, what does that?
Well, how is that an insult?
What does that even mean?
Well, and I think let's throw Travion on there for maybe let's say 50 rush and receive. And I think with this is we got an old school kind of teaser, but a nice your way. So Pat's money line, put that total down about 6 points, and then Travion 50 rush and receive. I'm happy with that as a your way bet.
Bingo.
All right, that's it for us today. We will be back after Bills Bengals next week. Stevie, play us out.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for your time. Make sure y'all leave y'all thoughts and comments down there in that box right there, and we'll be checking y'all out, man. This is the Broken Table Podcast. Go Bills for life. One love.